I'm sure a lot of you guys have already, I'm sure a lot of you guys have already met or spoke to Luke from the Uncom Network. So Luke is an award-winning creative director and video producer. He's worked with loads of international brands like Virgin, eBay, and then DAZN, which is an international sports company. He's got a degree in graphic communications and built his creative agency, which I believe is Zuzu Creations, up to 500K annually, which is incredible. And I think he's recently been diving into just kind of how to mesh the creative world with the AI world and how you can leverage it. And he's been using that himself and with his clients. So super excited to see how he does that, because it, at least in my experience, is difficult to really show your own voice through AI. Like, you don't want it to just sound like you asked AI to write me a squat video and it's just a generic squat video, right? And he's also talked a lot about the idea of digitizing yourself. So I'm also curious for him to touch on that more, and just kind of replicating yourself online through video and now through AI. So yeah, excited for this talk.
Let's go. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Good to see some familiar faces. Jan, I'm really upset with you for like destroying me on the squad records, man. Like I thought I was top dog over there. But amazing stuff, man. But great to see all of you guys. Great to see all of your faces. I think it's awesome what you, Max and Andreas, are doing. I'm super grateful to be part of this as well. So I think this is going to be quite a good segue from the talk you guys just heard, because it sounds like that was maybe more sort of technical, scientific, and I have no idea how AI works. I will just do that as a disclaimer right now. All I know how to do is to write stuff in and then to get cool shit out on the other end. And I don't know what's happening with AI. I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know what's coming around the corner, but I do know that if you can leverage it right now as an entrepreneur, you're going to unlock a shitload of freedom and a shitload of amazing results in your marketing. Okay, so the focus for me, what I'm going to be talking about today, is how to create amazing content marketing using AI as, the input point. So let me just share my screen real quick. All right. So you guys might be wondering why there is a Renaissance painting on the screen right now. I believe this was Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo. I might have screwed that up, but it's an incredibly famous painting. All right. And back in these days, the Renaissance times, artists would spend their time communicating, sharing their ideas, painting love stories, painting stories about politics, painting stories about the gods, all of these things, right? This is how people would communicate back in those days. They didn't have video, they didn't have phones, they didn't have text messaging. So the reason I'm showing you this is because, from what I understand, you guys are all entrepreneurs, either aspiring or running out there, making money, putting office together, trying to do cool stuff, right? My belief is that entrepreneurs are the modern day Renaissance painters. Now, what that means is, guys, is that it's important for you at whatever stage of your journey to understand that it is not good enough just to be an entrepreneur. You have to be an artist as well. All right. And learning how to create that identity in your mind, learning how to embrace your own creativity and using your business as a way to go out into the world and to make amazing works of art, to build amazing businesses. All right. You are the artist, and AI is one of your paintbrushes, I will say. And this is what I want to get across to you guys today. All right. Is how to tap into the inner artist, tap into your own creativity, and how to leverage AI as an amazing paintbrush to create some amazing damn things. Now, what happened to me when I first started using AI, I remember when it came out, there was this thing called ChatGPT. I was like, what the hell is this thing, right? And I went and I played on it and I started typing some stuff in. The answers that I was getting back were just insane. It was like completely blew my mind. I was like, I cannot tell my clients about this. I cannot let them know that this exists because surely they won't need to pay me anymore. And so what ended up happening was I played around with it, was creating emails, I was creating content, I was coming up with all these ideas. But what happened was I started realizing that it was actually really shit. And the results and the prompts that were coming back from ChatGPT were not great. Okay, this was ChatGPT 3, and even on ChatGPT 4, the answers were so generic and it sounded robotic. And I was like, okay, screw this. Like, this isn't good. I need to go back to copywriting and doing my own thing, essentially. But what ended up happening, what ended up happening was I learned how to prompt it better. I learned how to give it better inputs that would reflect me as a human being, as a business, as a creative, right? Someone who does creative work for their clients. And so when I was able to leverage that, that's when things started to change. And what I'm going to give you guys on this call is some really tangible, actual prompts that you can then input, and ways and techniques on how you can actually input your creativity into ChatGPT, and it can give you some gold back. Okay. So Andres has already said that. So this is my career, guys. Looks very flashy on the outside, but this is actually was the reality. All right. Now, I'm pretty certain that this would be enough to kill a baby cow in terms of caffeine. I have no idea how I didn't die that day, but it will just give you a bit of an understanding as to what my life looked like when I first started out as a editor, graphic designer. So what I was working on at this moment in time, I was editing the 2026 United World Cup soccer World Cup bid for United States, Mexico, and Canada. So I edited the film that went out to the pitch and got played to all of the presidents, and and eventually won, which was kind of cool. But like I literally worked myself to the ground. And sorry. The reason I worked myself to the ground was because I was just this ball of energy. I was just this ball of energy bouncing around. I didn't know how to control my creative energy. I didn't know how to do any of that. So I just bursted. I was like a bull in a china shop, just trying to pump stuff out. Okay. And then we'll just skip ahead real quick. But essentially, what ended up happening when I was in that area, I would create content and I thought I sounded like this: clear, amazing, professional, but actually I really did sound like this. Okay. My content looked like this. It looked scattered. It looked like it was in a different language. And that's literally the problem maybe 99% of people I see online have. They might as well be speaking in another language. Okay. The reason is inconsistency. Inconsistency in your messaging, in your focus, in your marketing, in your sales, in your emotion, in the results, and in the priorities of your life. And so this is what progress looked like to me. Okay, it was slow, it was painful, and it was just non-existent. So the reason that, well, the cause behind that was just sheer confusion, right? I didn't know which direction to go, and I didn't know what to focus on. And that was the cause of my inconsistency. I needed help. And what ended up happening was this confused dude who was loved editing, loved creating stuff, all of this, all of this crazy stuff, was a long career of jumping and moving and being inconsistent and being unbalanced and being burnt out and being stressed, everything. And if I can share something with you guys on this call, is how to balance that out and how to find what I like to call harmony. Okay. And the way you do that is by embracing your artist and your entrepreneur. So there are many parts of yourself right now, right? And I'm not going to get into a psychological lesson right now. I've got a therapist. Maybe you should get one. He might teach you about this. But the two parts that I like to focus on are the artist and the entrepreneur. And that is the team that I've built inside of myself to go out into the world, to create amazing things and to make money and to make impact. And Paul Council, most of you will know him. He talks about creating your A team, okay? The A team within inside of yourself, the different parts of yourself. But when you balance the entrepreneur and the artist, and you give enough time to the artist to create cool things, but you give enough structure from the entrepreneur. So the entrepreneur's job is to structure the creativity inside of you so you don't get rinsed dry like I was getting. Okay. So once you find the balance between the artist and the entrepreneur, you get harmony. And the reason I'm telling you this, guys, is because the entrepreneurial side of yourself needs to be leveraging artificial intelligence, but it needs to be driven by your inner artist. Everything you do on ChatGPT is there to build structure and to literally just blast ahead super speed. But it needs the energy and it needs the direction of your inner artist. Otherwise, it will be shit. And that's my professional opinion. I don't know what the the reasoning is behind that, but that's just what I've experienced. So seeing your business as your art is incredibly important. So my mission at the moment is to help people combine the artist's soul with the entrepreneur's mind. And so I focus on these areas: art, business, balance, focus, liberation, overcoming your fears, getting your messaging right, and focusing on your growth. And on this call, we're going to focus on focus and messaging with AI. But before we get into the points, guys, I've got this free AI prompt chain that will help you create any offer in 11 prompts based off Alex Hormozi's naming principles. So I think one of the guys will drop this link in, but it's completely free. And if you follow this whole prompt chain, you will have essentially a business offer at the end of it. This is something that I've used for a lot of my online courses, and it's been pretty insane. So hopefully this is some sick free value for you guys to go away and put offers together, put tests together. So a lot of what this is based on is $100 million offers by Alex Hormozi. So the whole idea is that you can take this prompt framework and essentially take any guru's framework and input it in this framework, and you'll be able to have them as your own business coach, for example. All right. So let's get into the first point. So focus. Before you use ChatGPT, you need to have an extreme dialed in focus around content creation. And obviously you can play around with it, do whatever you want. But if you are generally serious about creating great content and making an impact in the world, you need to have extreme focus. And what I mean by focus is, it's so easy for us as entrepreneurs, creatives, to just be, oh my God, that's an amazing idea. Oh my God, shit's getting hard now. I need to jump ship. And the problem with that is it creates that inconsistency, which I was talking about earlier. And so the one thing that a lot of people say to me is like, oh, Luke, you have to niche down into one thing. And then I tell them, bro, this is my self-portrait, mate. I'm a multi-dimensional being. How could I ever possibly niche down into one single thing? All right. So you don't need to niche. You need to own a solution. And so this is an awesome framework before we get into the ChatGPT prompt that you need to understand. In order to move from unknown to known, you have to have consistent, focused pressure. Now, that means is you need to identify what your one word focus is. All right. And this is how I identified and sped up the process of identifying what my one word focus was. Now, obviously, you can do this by brainstorming stuff, writing stuff on a piece of paper. But ChatGPT can be used as a sounding board to help you, almost like an amazing dictionary or thesaurus, however you fucking say that. But anyway, so what you do is you pop in ChatGPT, what are the 10 biggest problems my target audience is currently facing? ChatGPT will come out with a bunch of options. You then, using your brain and your knowledge of your target audience, will then make a decision, okay, about which problem makes the most sense to you. So you ask it, distill these problems into a single word problem, and then ask, what is the single word solution to that problem? And I'll tell you exactly why a single word is the most important thing. But here's just a quick overview. So that first prompt was put in, and then it told me a load of problems that my ideal audience was facing. And then I asked it to distill these problems into a single word problem, and it came up with connectivity. I asked it to provide 5 more options, and it came out with these. And so I really liked the word saturation. I was like, shit, yeah, that's what people struggle with. They don't like saturation. They think the market saturation. Focused on saturation. What is the one word solution to that? And I didn't really like that. So I said, what are a few different ways of saying that? Okay, so you can see, like, I'm just using ChatGPT as a sounding board to basically get clarity around my ideas. Now, this is a long process that generally takes a long time, but can be sped up massively. And once you can land on what your problem is and what your solution is, that is when you can move forward and start creating content. Because there are so many people out there right now creating content and it's scattered. It looks like gibberish because they are not clear on what their problem is. They're not clear on what their solution is. Now, for example, my problem that I'm solving is inconsistency. My solution is harmony, right? And so one thing that you do and what you need to do to really make sure that you found a problem that and a solution that you want to be known for is put it through the death test. So the death test is when you get to the end of your life, will you be proud if this one word is all you are known for? So if you literally were on your deathbed and someone said to you, Luke, all you are going to be known for is harmony, I'd be like, fuck yes, I'm down. That's my mission. And when you get that feeling about your mission, about what your one word is, that is when you know you are ready to start creating content. Before then, you have to do soul searching, you have to do awareness, you have to do a lot of stuff to get to that place. But ChatGPT, using it to bounce your ideas back and forth. What does this word mean? What is the meaning of this? Okay, so now show me the opposite of this word. All right, and then you land on something that makes the back of your neck, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And then you know what your focus is going to be. And then you know what you're going to focus on to break through the wall. They call this Sheehan's wall. If you want to Google it, Sheehan's wall. Rory Vaden talks about this, but it's basically blasting through from being unknown to known. You need a singular focus. All right. So let's bump ahead real quick. All right. Okay, so let that one word be the foundation of all of your marketing. Simple. Now, once you have that, once you've identified it, this is where things get fun. All right, it's around the messaging, and so messaging is shorthand for marketing. Getting your message out into the world, etc. Now, this again was incredibly difficult for me. Like, I've spent my entire career helping other clients and helping other people speak on camera, get their message out into the world. But it wasn't until I turned the camera on myself that I realized how challenging this actually was. To add to that, to create content of yourself, to get over the fear of speaking on camera, to actually have a coherent message, to know how to structure your videos, to know how to do all of this is incredibly overwhelming. And, Keegan was a massive mentor for me and a massive help for me in this area of my life. And huge thanks to Uncom for giving me a grounds to practice speaking. But essentially what I've done now is it's helped me unlock so much freedom in my life, so much ability to move, to travel the world, to connect with amazing people like you guys, to share my message, to share my heart-centered message and what I was put on this earth to say. And I believe each one of you have a message to give to the world. Each of you do. And it might seem unclear right now. It might seem inconsistent, but going through these processes of refining your message is worth it. It's one of the most important self-development journeys I have been on in my life. Okay. So once you know that, you know your focus, it's time to let AI amplify your heart's message. All right. And the way we do this is by taking our one-word solution. So for example, if my one-word solution was resilience, I would take that, I would put that right at the top of this content matrix. So this is my content creation framework. And you take your one word and you break it up into 4 separate pillars. So with resilience, it could be around discipline, it could be around habits, it could be around movement, it could be around doing hard things, for example. And once you break those down, and this is where I talk about like not having to worry about niching, because when you do worry about that, it becomes incredibly pigeonholing. So, for example, mine are like business tips for creatives, spirituality and business, lifestyle, health and fitness. That's how it can be for you. And you can then rotate all of your content around this. But this is where you need to input it in first before we take it to ChatGPT. And so what we also do is we have 6 content categories that we focus on. Industry myths, personal stories, quick tips, step-by-step process, common mistakes, and FAQ. The reason this is important is because this is what we are going to be telling ChatGPT to focus on. These are the categories for it to give us content back to. Now, before we get into the prompt chain on the next page, which you guys can use yourselves, is the tone of voice analysis. All right, so one of the biggest problems I had working with multiple clients was like, okay, I know my tone of voice, but how do I nail that person's tone of voice? How do I nail that person's tone of voice? Because it changes all the time. So what we did was we implemented this process where we got our clients to send us a message of them talking about their one-word solution, because that was how we were going to get them to speak about something incredibly passionately. And so they would record a video, and I would tell them to record this video as if you are speaking to one person, as if you are speaking to your old self, even better, and get emotional, get passionate about it. Obviously not shouting too crazy, but get them to send this video into you. And what we did was we transcribed that video using Descript. So we had a whole transcription of it. We copied and pasted that. We copied and pasted that into ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to analyze the tone of voice. Once we did that, it analyzed it. It said, this is how it sounds. It sounds motivational. It sounds inspirational. It sounds da-da-da-da. And then we said, well, can you turn it into a prompt that we can use in the future so we don't have to ask you this over and over again? And so it would create and craft us a prompt on its own. And so we just saved that prompt for that client, and we were able to use it over and over again to guide any messaging, blogs, posts, anything in the future, any scripts that we needed to do. We had that client locked down. So it's an important part of the process to nail the tone of voice. Okay, so to get ChatGPT to analyze it, test it around, see how it works, and once you're happy, then you're good to go. So now for the fun, I shall say. This is my attempt of trying to show one of the prompts. This is actually the exact prompt that we use to bring that whole content matrix to life. All right. So essentially what we start with is a prompt at the top, and then we just deliver the information. And the green areas here, you guys just need to put in your own bits here, and you will essentially have an entire content matrix based on your one core problem, based on all of those pillars that we said as well. So essentially what I like to do though first is I say, first, please, can you create a YouTube video idea for each pillar? So then I put it in, I give it some little ideas and thoughts, and then it comes back with 4 solid YouTube video ideas. So for example, the art of letting go, dealing with difficult clients and maintaining inner peace. I was like, fucking hell, how do you know what was in my head? And the reason is because we took time to prompt it properly. We took time to understand what we were trying to say. All right. So once that is done, we then say, can you provide 6 Reels ideas based on insert content pillar? The ideas should follow each of these content types: industry myths, personal stories, step-by-step process, quick tips, common mistakes, frequently asked questions. All right. So just input your pillar there, and this is what you'll get back. So these were just 3 that I was doing, but I like to say 6 because then it goes through all 6 of those content categories. But, busting myths, from starving artist to thriving creative entrepreneur, how to automate your creative business in 5 steps, like all solid ideas, all things that I would create content around. Then what I would do is say, can you now do the same for the next pillar? All right, and the next pillar is done. Can you do the same for the next pillar? All right. And you repeat for all of the pillars. And I like to break my prompts up into little pieces. ChatGPT could probably do all of it at once, but I like to just take it step by step and prompt it one prompt at a time. It's what I call a prompt chain. And so that prompt chain in that free resource I've given you guys, that's a prompt chain that will take you through 11 prompts. And at the end of it, you're going to have a whole business offer that you can actually launch to the world if you wanted to. But the idea is that you take your prompts one by one. And I found that to be more beneficial. All right. Yeah, maybe you guys take screenshots so I can send you this after. But yeah. So just to recap is before you go ahead and start creating any content, you need to identify what your focus is. So identifying the single word that you're going to be known for, the thing that you are going to be proud to tell your children that you were put on earth to create content around. It's that deep. I'm telling you to get that deep, because that's the only way you're going to make impact on social media in a saturated market. Use ChatGPT to bounce ideas off you. Use it as someone to brainstorm with, and then do the deathbed test around your final word. And once you've got that, once you feel excited about your word, that's when you can start moving into the messaging. So create your content matrix, break it down into 4 pillars, then break it down into 6 content categories, and start using ChatGPT to deliver and do the heavy lifting for you. All right. And yeah, just a reminder, if you guys didn't get that URL, you can head over and get that prompt chain over there. And also, guys, I'm offering, anyone wants to reach out to me on Telegram can jump on a call, and I can give you some guidance around content creation, AI, and how to really hone on that that singular word for you as well. But just to end on this, guys, like everyone in this group right now, and everyone, part of Uncom, the community, everyone that I know on this call and everyone I don't know, the world needs you to be brave now more than ever. It needs you to be brave, to get your message out into the world, to start helping people, to start looking stupid on camera, to start going through that whole process of sucking, so you can get to the place where you are ready to make change. You're ready to help many people. Now, don't let your fears stop you. Don't let any of these limiting beliefs. And I know you guys are self-driven men. I don't know if there's any ladies on here, but you're self-driven. Take that curiosity and get out into the fucking world and start putting your offers out there. Start testing, start going crazy, start putting, overcoming your fears. And this was something that I had to go through myself, and it was incredibly, incredibly challenging, but I had to go through it twice, because when I changed from my agency and I went into online courses, it was a whole new ball game, and it was really, really challenging. You can ask Keegan Smith. He'll know. He helped me a lot through that. But I just want to give that as a final message, guys. The world needs you to be brave. The world needs you to get out there and share your message, and use AI to supercharge that for you, okay? All right.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you. Yeah, does anyone have any questions for Luke?
Yeah, Luke. So that was a great presentation. I thought it was great. Overall, I really liked it. I learned a lot. One thing I wanted to ask though is, as far as like the part where you record your voice and then put it into, I think it was desync, I forget which one it is. But basically where you record your voice, transcribe it so that you get the tone out of it, then put it into the AI and turn that into a prompt. How did you think of that? Like what made you come to that conclusion for that problem?
I think when you're dealing with like real world clients and like you're under pressure to deliver good work, like you think on a different level. Like if it was for me, I probably would have bypassed that and shortcutted it. But yeah, wait, what happened? Andreas. Okay. Okay, sorry. Yeah, when you have the pressure of a client's neck breathing down the back of you, and the ChatGPT prompts are terrible, they're coming out, it's not looking good. I had to think of something like, okay, how can I actually nail what this woman sounds like right now? Because the client was a lady. She has about 3 million followers on Instagram. And like I was like, holy crap, like how am I gonna create this content, this copy? In the past, I would have had my copywriter do it, but I literally haven't hired a copywriter in the last year because of ChatGPT, because I've learned how to leverage it. So it was like it just was an idea that popped to me. Honestly, I have no idea like how, but I think it might have been just when the pressure is on, I tend to think a bit sharper, to be honest. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
I
I just
think I
wanted to
think it's
say I thought it was
good for
a
you.
like genius idea. I really liked it. So thank you.
Pleasure, brother. Pleasure.
Garrett, you want to go ahead?
Yes, thanks, y'all. Luke, it seems like you have just this like infinite source of awesomeness that you channel. And I'm wondering, like, are you always operating from that state, or does it ever like ebb and flow? And when you're in like a lower state, if you will, how do you handle that and still be productive?
Mm.
Or is it just like a rest period? Or is this kind of giving you a general idea of what I'd like to ask?
Yes, yes. It's a really great question. It really is, because this journey that you guys are all going on, like it's not easy. And there are often times, honestly, where it sucks, man. It sucks. It feels incredibly depressing. It feels incredibly sad. It feels lonely. It feels chaotic. So I go through all of that like weekly, man. Like I think I said to my girlfriend, I was like, every day at 3 p.m., it's like my mini period. You know, it's like I fucking have this slump. I got to go have a nap. I got to go, and then I go have my nap. I wake up and feel shit, jump in the pool, and then boom, I'm ready. So it's like I think the key to overcoming those fluctuations in mood and motivation and whatnot is radical acceptance of yourself, and acceptance that feelings are going to happen, emotions are going to happen. You're going to have incredible self-doubt, but the key generally, and what it's been true to me, is developing a certain degree of resilience. And the resilience comes from knowing what your purpose is, what your one word is. So when I feel shit, when I post something and I go, oh my God, why did I do that? Because that happens. I need to remember the mission. I need to remember why. When a post gets 200 views, I need to remember why. I need to remember why I'm doing this. And then that helps, bro. And it takes everything away. And a really awesome quote that I heard is when the mission is clear, the fear disappears. When the mission is clear, the fear disappears. And I'm paraphrasing, but that was very, very helpful to me. But bro, I fluctuate, I feel down, I go through all of those emotions. But I think Keegan taught me this around daily freedoms. Okay. If you can tick your daily freedoms off, if you can get some movement in, if you can read 10 pages of the day, if you can sit in meditation for 5 minutes, just nail those things, then you're good. And I nap when I feel shit. Another thing is sometimes I will just cancel things. I will also take a whole day off to rest and recover. A really interesting new concept that I heard about was this idea of a circle day. So where you choose one day per week where you put a circle around yourself. You don't let anyone contact you. You don't go on social media. You don't do any work. And you just allow space to think, to breathe, to meditate, to allow ideas to come into the fray and allow yourself to recover. And that has been so epic for me. But I don't do it all the time. I must admit, I have a propensity to overwork myself, and that's something I'm working on as well.
I was
M
wondering,
to the
have you,
Ike. M to the Ike. What's up? I ain't seen you in ages.
I was
You're muted.
wondering, you used passion, like people talking passionately for their prompts. Have you tried like different emotions and people doing, I don't know, like thinking about different things and then using those in different contexts or
Yeah, every time I've done that, it's just come up with some cheesy stuff, man. Like anytime I've done like, inspirational this, when I do those things, it comes back with terrible stuff. And then so what I'll have to do is say, like, can you like tone that down? Can you stop doing exclamation marks? Like, can you stop shouting? Like, So I will sometimes just see what happens if I just go stop doing exclamation marks. Okay, then I'll come back. Or like, can you tone down the cheesiness? Can you tone down the inspiration? And so you almost like use it as dials, go back and forth a little bit. But it's a good question, and it's one that I would just say you really just have to play around with it, bro. Like it's still it's not the god tool yet, you know. So it's still got massive flaws, I would say, and I think that's probably an area where it's been quite rubbish for me.
Thank you. And this presentation has been super, super helpful for me. So yeah, appreciate it.
Epic, brother.
My question was, have you used ChatGPT for anything of editing wise on videos or anything like that? I don't know actually how that works or if it does work, but curious if you used it just to get some of the more busy work aspect done of editing.
Yeah, so I've tested out a bunch. I know ChatGPT doesn't really have that as a, I think it might have like basic. Okay, wait, there's a plugin called Video Q or something. And you can type in a bunch of like a paragraph and say, can you create a video around this? And it'll lump together a bunch of stock footage, but it's atrocious. It's atrocious. However, it's cool to see that is starting to happen. Like it sends you a link and it sends you a link to a video, but it is really terrible at this stage. One business idea I've thought of with what you could do with AI is create a YouTube channel, a faceless YouTube channel. You might have heard of this, but use ChatGPT to create the scripts around like a focus point. So for example, I'm going to use like my favorite rugby team, for example, the Springboks, the South African rugby team. If I was to create a YouTube channel called the Springboks News, I could literally just tell ChatGPT to create a news article around this. I could then get some AI thing to create a video and then just pump that into YouTube. And I see a lot of those where it talks with a robot voice. People just clump together stock footage. So I'm wondering if that is artificial intelligence, but I thought that would be a cool idea for a YouTube channel. But what to answer your question, bro, like I've not found anything better than myself at editing yet. Epic, man. Cool. You're all so speechless. Wow, that's great.
You'll have to meet Andres because he's a killer editor. He might show you up.
Andres, have you heard of any cool AI editing tools yet?
No, the only one I've used was, I think it's called like video with a Y somewhere in there. It's good at taking the YouTube clips and cutting it up into shorts. You have to pay, well, it's not that, it's like maybe $15 a month to have custom captions, but the free ones it gives you they're okay. Like if you really just don't care too much about the quality and you have long form interviews, things like that, and you just want to put them out, it works. But if you want to actually curate it to be a quality piece of content, then I haven't found anything that's very good yet.
I think the best tool that I've been using on a daily basis is Descript. So I mean that's like a hybrid of AI and yourself driving the machine. So that's what creates the transcriptions. And instead of editing the actual video, you edit the text that it gives you. So it cuts out your ums, your ahs, it gets rid of the pauses, adds amazing captions. Like I think it looks so much cooler than the captions app. Like it's been really, really good for me. And the cool thing is that you can also, this is another little tip for you guys, is I'll edit my YouTube videos there. I'll take the transcription, I'll put it into ChatGPT. I will then say, ChatGPT, can you turn this video transcription into an SEO optimized description for YouTube? It will then write my entire YouTube description and it will give me like a potential viral title for my YouTube video. So I don't even have to think about that. So that's really cool. Make sure you put the plugin which searches all YouTube transcriptions, because you can even ask it to say, hey, ChatGPT, what is like a trending video on YouTube around this topic? And then it'll give you like 10 trending videos and then create a unique title for me for my own video. And there you go. You've got like a high potential click video. But then, you know, that's only half the job. Like Mr. Beast would say, you know, you can get as much people clicking in, but if the content's shit, then, you know, you're screwed. So, but it's saved me a lot of time. That.
Garrett, you have a question?
Yes, on the subject of editing, what would you recommend beginners use?
I think, and I haven't used it for a while, but I'm pretty sure CapCut is still free. Is it still free? I would say that. It's like I've edited some actually pretty cool videos on that, just on my phone. It's super easy. Like if I need to do it, like I'll probably do it on there. I think Instagram, the in-app editing is also pretty good. You know, so if you have a simple video, like slap it into Instagram. You know, I think that's pretty good. So, but yeah, I think CapCut will give you like a good you know, foundation in editing. And if you ever want to go further, you can get things like Premiere Pro and Final Cut, etc., etc. Pete.
How we doing? You okay?
Good, brother. Good to see you.
Yeah. Just on the back of that CapCut question, I uploaded one of my videos to it the other day, and it was only a 60-second calf stretch video, and on my laptop it took an hour to like upload or download to it. I did pick like 1080p 30 pixels, so it was kind of the highest quality. I just wondered if there's like a little bit of drop off, or you know, if you do it at 720, is it a lot shorter for the upload time? Or
Yeah, I think you really don't want to be going that low in terms of resolution, because your videos will just look rubbish.
yeah.
So like I would try to use CapCut on your desktop. Maybe it'll speed things up, because I reckon it's your phone, which is
Well,
probably the problem.
that I used it on the desktop.
Oh, then maybe it's
Yeah.
your computer. Maybe it's your computer that's a problem, because it's probably an issue with RAM.
Right.
Like I've just upgraded my laptop to a fully spec'd MacBook Pro, and it's like been like the most beautiful experience of my life, because I spent 2 years editing on a MacBook Pro, which was on its last leg. So my editing was like lagging and all this shit. And as soon as I got a proper machine, I was like, why did I not do this earlier? So you know, it's obviously it's important for me as you know, someone who does it for a living, but you know, having the correct tools is important part of any artist's journey.
Yeah, for sure. Nice one, thank you.
Pleasure, bro.
Luke, I have a quote. It's a kind of long quote, but it's relative to your concept of the harmony thing. So it's by Andy Warhol, who was an artist in the 70s. It says, I had by that time decided that business was the best art. Business art is the step that comes after art. I started as a commercial artist, and I want to finish as a business artist. After I did the thing called art, or whatever it's called, I went into business art. I wanted to be an art businessman or a business artist. Being good in business is the most fascinating kind of art. During the hippie era, people put down the idea of business. They'd say money is bad, working is bad, but making money is art, and working is art, and good business is the best art.
Jeez, bro. Wow, that is awesome. Thank you so much. That is awesome.
What are your thoughts on just the concept of, because it kind of it resonates a little bit with your whole idea of the harmony between the entrepreneur and the artist?
I absolutely love it, man, because like my two values, like probably my two of my highest values. One is around business, and you know, one is creativity. And when I broke that down into the different parts of myself, I realized every single time I was burnt out was because I was too far in the entrepreneur, and I was just grinding. And every time I got sort of lost with the fairies and sort of wasn't making any progress with business, I was too much in my artist. So it's this polarity. It's like the feminine, the masculine, the yin, the yang. That's why I use that picture. But it's so important, you know, for me personally, and I'm assuming you guys too, is that we have this harmony between the artist and the entrepreneur. Because like I also had a lot of resistance around. I was like, okay, do I really want to be a businessman? Or do I just want to create cool films? So that was a big conundrum I had to go through as well. And I was like, all right, what happens if the businesses I create is my artistic expression? And what if that is my outlet for creativity? Because I had a lot of regrets around, I was a really great oil painter at school. And I used to feel, and I actually, my degree to go to university was to study fine art. And I changed it maybe 3 weeks before I called the university and I said to them, guys, can I change this to graphic communication, graphic design? Because I was like, fuck, man, I don't want to be a struggling artist. I don't want to be someone who's just, trying to, smoking 10 packs of cigarettes a day and injecting myself with all sorts of stuff. And I'm completely generalizing there, but it's
Yeah, just stick with the monsters.
It's the
Those are probably
archetype.
better.
Yeah, exactly. It's the archetype of the struggling artist. And I didn't want to go that way. So I was like, okay, cool. I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit in me. How can I develop that? But when I was, pumping that caffeine early on in my career, that was me just being confused, lost, boom, boom, inconsistent. Like, I don't know what's going on. And then it wasn't until, just through experience, man, through living, and then you start to gain clarity. And I think there was one awesome moment, and you could call it a moment from God or intervention or something, but it was just this moment of clarity of like, whoa, I know what I need to do now. And I remember when that happened to me, I burst out into tears, and I just started crying tears of joy, because I was like, holy crap, like I've been stressing my whole life around what my purpose is, what am I going to do, what is the right way to go, what direction am I moving in? And then boom, I knew. And at that moment I was able to go and like just fucking go straight. It doesn't mean you don't bump into walls and go down dead ends and have to reverse and then move and change direction. But it was just like, wow, okay, I don't have to stress so much anymore about what my purpose is, because my purpose is to create.
Oh, you're on top of that, like you were talking about earlier, the whole soul searching and finding the one word thing. Do you recommend that people create and eventually find that thing, or do you do the soul searching first? You know what I mean? Or do you do it at the same time? Is it kind of like,
Yeah.
could the creativity lead you to being like, oh, this content is resonating, this makes sense, that this is my mission?
Yeah. So what I've sort of lived by is this metaphor of the onion, and that your life's core purpose is at the center of that onion, and you have to peel back the layers one by one until you get there. So it's this idea of like, okay, what is my purpose right now, and let me commit to that. Yes, brother, Shrek. It's like, what is my purpose right now? And let me go all in on that purpose. And then I'll get to a stage where, okay, I'm done with this purpose. Now my next purpose is happening. Now I'm on the next layer. Now I'm on the next layer. But it's not thinking, shit, how do I get to the center layer without actually going through the layers? So I think, to answer your question, it is a little bit of, sort of building the plane on the way down type thing. I know I said, yeah, it's like that word can be your word now for the next 3 months. And in 3 months time, you might be like, okay, I'm ready to change. Obviously, it'll mean that you have to go through more iterations. It might take you longer to get to the place you're going to, but I cannot sit here and tell you not to do that, because I change my brand, my identity on a fucking monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. But the reason being is because growth is one of my highest values, and I'm growing and I'm changing constantly. And so are all of you guys. And so my interests change, who I want to focus on changes. But one thing that's given me a lot of clarity in business is serve the person that you once were. And so rather than trying to do personal trainers and this and fit this, this, it's like, okay, who was I not so long ago, and how can I help that person? And when I think about that, I'm like, shit, I know exactly how to help that dude.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any questions? I could put people on the spot. I know M to the I key. I don't actually know who you are. I'm sure you're a friend of Luke's. Do you have any questions for Luke?
Yeah, friend of Luke, and then I also know Andres too. I didn't have any questions prepared for this one. I'm sorry. I was gonna say I'll definitely I'm gonna listen to the whole video, and then I'll definitely have lots of questions. I promise.
No worries, Mikey. Are you still hiking a lot?
Yeah, I am. I actually well, I just started a few weeks ago. I messed up my back throwing my little nephew up in the air, and so yeah, had to fix that first. One question I actually do have for ChatGPT. I know that there's different, I've seen like Apple is creating one, Google's creating one. So I know different businesses are going to be kind of creating their own version for ChatGPT, or just different kind of AIs. Is there one that like a centralized one where you say like, oh, this is kind of my go-to, like, or like I only use ChatGPT. So that's kind of my only question for right now.
Yeah, I mean, someone else might be good to answer. I mean, I only use OpenAI ChatGPT. I tried using Google's Bard, and it was very terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a good one. Just stick to that. I think if Apple make one, that'll be pretty cool. But it'll just be, it'll have some sort of ulterior motive around their product ecosystem. And as I am an Apple maximalist, but it'll just weird me out because I want to use something that's sort of detached from that. Even though OpenAI are making money and they have a cool brand ethos, which was around open sourcing AI, which they're not doing anymore, I believe. But I think they're a good bet to go with for now.
Very cool. Thank you.
Well done, Mikey. Good question.
Similar question, actually. So I've been using the AI within Notion, and the thing I like about that is you can create like a toggle that would have like the description of your avatar. Like you can go really in depth, and then you can reference that in a prompt rather than needing to copy and paste. Is there like, what's your solution for ChatGPT? Do you just have like a note where you copy and paste prompts or descriptors or words, paragraphs, things like that?
Yeah, so I literally use it the same way in that document. If you download that, I have the prompts laid out, and then I have like, Notion has the ability to put a prompt in like a code box, and it looks cool. It looks cool, and it organizes it for me. So, but I also tell people when they're running multiple prompts, it's important that every answer you get, you copy and paste it to somewhere, because otherwise it's just organization. It's good to have that trail of thought, especially if you're doing something like an 11 prompt chain.
Gotcha. And one more question is, sometimes I get caught in this loop of asking ChatGPT something. It gives me an answer that's like kind of what I want, kind of not. And then I just get in this loop of, okay, fix this, fix this, fix this, fix this. And it almost makes it worse. Like it'll fix what I asked it to, but then the thing that was right is now not right.
Yeah.
It's kind of a generic question, but do you recommend going down the like fix it route, or just redo the original prompt to be better?
Yeah, if it's like giving you terrible responses, I just start a new one, and I make it better. Like I try and do different inputs. So like I got so many different new chats up, but yeah, when it starts like going down that, it's like just more frustrating, if anything. So it's like better just to start from scratch, I would say.
Cool, thanks.
Luke, you mentioned about kind of not getting stuck in a niche. I was having a chat with Max about this the other day. I guess my question is, when you say you're trying to do and get into niches, do you see yourself getting to lots of different niches and not being kind of constrained by where they are, or do you try to stay generalist? And then also, like, how do you kind of avoid spreading yourself too thin if you're going to kind of, not go into a niche, so to speak?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. I think it's not necessarily about niching in the traditional sense. You still need to have a target audience. Like you still need to have a primary person that you're helping. So what I like to do is be like, okay, my primary audience is creative entrepreneurs. My secondary audience is creative directors. My tertiary audience is online coaches. So it doesn't mean you can't serve those people, but you need to have an absolute focus, right? So really, I would say to you, before all of this stuff, and I didn't have time to go through it on here, but before you even come up with your one word, you have to have someone in mind. And that's why I said help the person you once were, because that's who you're most qualified to help. But it doesn't have to be. So I would break it down into primary, secondary, tertiary. And then if you have like a current business model now, which is your primary business model, like it might be a job or it might be like an agency thing, that's your primary. Your secondary might be your coaching business, but then make something which says, okay, but this is my short-term plan, but soon my primary will be my coaching, my secondary will be this, or I might even get rid of my primary job. But it gives you a nice way to just plan your way out to where you want to go. And another cool metaphor was, if you're on a desert island and you're trying to get off, and you have one pipe which is sending you fresh water, like don't cut that pipe off until you've built your life raft. And that's in reference to your main source of income right now. So it's like, whatever that is, keep it going, but make sure you're building your raft in the meantime before you cut that supply off. I don't know how we got there, but anyway.
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Cool.
Could I give a quick example to see if I'm understanding what you're saying about arriving at what type of content would be ideal for me to produce?
Yeah, sure, man.
Thank you. So I had an uncom call with like two younger guys recently, and I realized that I really flow when like I can help them get direction in their life and provide ideas for them to accomplish things and proceed with what they want to do. And so the text I wrote just now is, I help young men who know that they don't vibe with the way the world works and want to make a positive difference, but don't have direction and community to help them get there. So would I then want to synthesize one word from that could be my main content production word?
Yes. So I would love to, I don't know how much time I have, but I'd love to show you. So the way you can visualize this, brother, is that you got to take that paragraph, which you just said, try and break that down into one statement. So for example, this is something I was brainstorming, and I can just share it with you now. It's like, if my problem that I was solving was inconsistency, and the solution was finding harmony, the message is that your business is your art. Your business is your art. That is my message. All right. So how can you distill your message into something which is, something tangible? If someone was to read, they would know how to get from problem to solution in one sentence. So you've got your one word problem, you've got your one word solution, and you have your one statement, your small paragraph, which explains explicitly how to get from A to B. Now, that does not need to be fancy. It needs to be incredibly simple, basic, and to the point. All right. So you don't have to do any alliteration or anything. It's just like, create every day, do the hard thing, climb that mountain. That, like, what is your thing? What is your message? So good what you're thinking, but try and break that down. Try and get that a lot more refined around one message. Okay.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, man.
Yeah, we've got time. So if anybody else has questions, as long as you're able to stay on, Luke, there's nobody after you. So
I had a question about if there's time.
Yeah.
About you were mentioning like taking a day off or your circle day. And it seemed like you're still kind of figuring that out, how to do it, like just not having to send a bunch of emails and contact people, no work. Is it pretty much like, yeah, I'm just gonna completely take today off, or How would that look for you?
It's a good question, man, but it's intentional rest, right? It's not I'm going to take space to play games. I'm not going to take space to scroll on my phone. You know, I'm not like, you know, I guess it's space by yourself, I would say. And that's the most important thing for me. It's like taking space to just allow ideas to flow into you and to allow yourself to deal with some, you know, sometimes it might be a day where you're actually just processing painful emotions. Because what ends up happening is if you're working all of the time and you're hustling, you're building up a lot of tension. And then when you're on your phone all the time, then you go to sleep, then you wake up and you do it again. There's a lot of unprocessed stuff going on. And so it's a really good day sometimes to actually just sit and focus on each of those emotions so you can actually free yourself up of them so you can get back to like equilibrium. And so that's sometimes what I do. Like I will potentially wake up, I will, you know, just take a bit more time, have like a short meditation, go to the sauna, go to have an ice bath, try and lie down. It's really hard for me to do this. I will say it's really, really difficult for me to do nothing. But when I did it religiously, it was freaking amazing, the results. Like the first one was really painful because I had a lot of stuff I was ignoring. And so I had to process that. And then eventually, once that was clear, I was like, okay, wow, ideas are coming to me. Okay, this is the answer to that solution. Because when you're hustling away and you're at your desk, you're there, you're in the details, right? And so it's important that when you're in the details to sometimes look up and be like, oh, wow, that's the vision. That's where I'm going. That's why I'm doing this. And it gives purpose to those daily actions. Because if I was sitting down editing for the rest of my life, every single day, I would go bonkers. And so that's why like I don't just do that anymore. But you know, if I know that it's towards my bigger purpose, I know I'm serving a big client, I will smash out the edits with absolute, you know, tenacity. But I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't take time to think about my why and my purpose, if that makes sense. So the circle day is good for that. But you don't have to do it the entire day. It could be like from the morning you wake up to like 1 p.m. You know, like that's potentially more realistic. And a book where I got this from is called The Diamond Cutter.
That makes a lot more sense. Thank you. That's a good tactic to just, you know, calm down, let things settle, and, you know, come back to it refreshed and with better ideas.
Absolutely, man. Like it's like I personally do not subscribe to Alex Hormozy's a belief or the like his motivation around like work 7 days a week, work more, work harder. Like I don't subscribe to that, because if I do that, I'm sacrificing, I'm ignoring my inner artist. My inner artist needs space to breathe. He needs space to think. He needs space to open his mind. If I'm in front of the computer all the day hustling, like Alex Hormozy says, bro, I'm on a one-way street to burnout. And I will happily admit that. It's like I was subscribed to that. I was like, oh my God, I have to do everything Alex Hormozy says. But I was like, one day I realized, I was like, fuck, I'm just destroying myself. I'm not even present when I'm with my girlfriend. I'm having like, you know, all I'm doing is thinking about work, and I'm completely ignoring all the other aspects of my life. You know, your business and your work should add to your lifestyle. It should make you feel great. You should feel excited. You shouldn't feel, you know, obviously you will feel frustrated every now and then, but if I'm working all of the time, I just become an absolute asshole.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I think that's super relevant to even the harmony concept you talked about earlier, because we obviously have a lot of we're all young entrepreneurs, so we have a lot of these role models out there, and it's very easy to get hyper obsessed with one person and adopt everything they're doing. Or, you know, you can listen to Andrew Tate and he'll tell you to, you're not, if you don't have if you're broke and you don't have a phone addiction, then you're an idiot. But yeah, I also have dove really deep into this concept of, I think it's relevant, so I'll share it, but like the same way the harmony of the entrepreneur and the artist, I just always refer to it as like the pusher and the relaxer. The same idea. It's just like you have every energy has an opposing energy in the universe. And if you're identified with one end, you know, you obviously don't want to be the lazy guy that does nothing, but you also don't want to be always pushing because you're not allowing that harmony to actually happen. And you will eventually burn out. Maybe Alex has different methods of incorporating. Maybe his harmony is spending time with his wife and not thinking about business. You know, everybody, it's not like we can see every side of everybody on social media. But I assume, you know, eventually people burn out if you're identified. If you think you are the guy that gets shit done, then, you know, that's a clear like feedback loop to realize that you're identifying with that part of you that is stuck in work mode, you know, and maybe it would be useful too. Like Huberman talks about how the most optimal way to focus is like 60 to 90 minutes and take a, you know, 15 to 30-minute break. And I find that as well, that you can get, you know, if you get into the flow state 4 times in a row while taking those breaks, you're going to get way more done in 6 hours than you will in 15 hours of sitting there doing, like, never taking a break.
Yeah, mate, thanks for sharing that, bro. I think that's really a good awareness from you. And I actually just want to reiterate that because, you know, with Twitter, with Instagram, with all of these social media platforms right now, we are being bombarded by gurus, right? Amazing advice, left, right, and center, all of this stuff. A lot of shit advice too. And if you are like new to the space and if you don't really know where to turn, it's very easy to start letting these things make imprints with you, imprints on your mind every single day. And, you know, I recently unfollowed Andrew Tate on Twitter because I was like, you know what, this is actually just negative bullshit. And he says he broke free from the Matrix, but he's the biggest proponent of the Matrix I've ever fucking seen, you know, with all of the materialism and whatnot. And, you know, I obviously I agree with a lot of what he says, like, but I started to realize, I was like, I don't want to have his voice in the back of my head every fucking day, 3 times a day on Twitter, and then see Alex Hormozy 5 times telling me I'm a worthless piece of shit because I'm not working. Like, it's important for you to really hold your own self-worth and know that something that works for Alex Hormozy might not be the right thing for you to do. And this is where like your internal self-discovery comes into place. Like, okay, what works for me? Like, and you know, and you really want to be able to get rid of that guilt of yeah, for me personally, it's like that inner critic, that guilt when it's like, okay, I'm not progressing that quickly here, or I'm not doing as good as I can be. So it's a fine line because you want to stay motivated, you want to keep moving, keep driving, but you want to know that you're doing it from a centered place of like what works for you, as opposed to just being like, oh my God, Andrew Tate said I'm a worthless piece of shit because I don't have any money. Like, really, you gotta try and take that out of your head. And so I've unfollowed him. I've unfollowed Hormozy on Twitter as well. But I'm reading Hormozy's book and I think it's amazing. So it's important to know like choose the times where you're consuming the media. Don't let it just jump into your head without your permission, if I will.
Awesome.
Any last questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. All right.
Hey,
Cool.
Luke,
Garrett's
in the
got
chat.
Garrett, you said something in the chat.
Yes.
How is this for first? Problem, meaningless, solution, purpose. Find your values, live them out. Very good. I love the problem. I love the solution. The message, that sounds like 2 messages in one. Find your values, then live them out. Find your values. Try and get that into like one clear point, clear message, I would say. But it's something like, you know, it needs to be like an action statement. So if that helps you at all, it could be around, yeah, something like love your values, live your values. Yes, that's thinking more on the right lines. Absolutely. And what I will ask you just to leave this, Garrett, does the word purpose make the hair on the back of your neck stand up?
No.
Yeah, you got to keep searching then.
Okay, thank you.
But it might be around purpose. So it could be some other words. And this is where use that ChatGPT process I taught you, where it's like, okay, tell me words that are similar and around the same lines to purpose. Boom, boom, boom. Get the words, use the thesaurus, however the fuck you say that, and you'll be on your way. How do you say it? Someone tell me.
Thesaurus.
There you go.
Thesaurus, yeah.
I'm not gonna try it again. It screws me up. All right, guys. Thank you so much. All right. Give me a shout if you